Well, here I am taking a break from the trail, in this case, floating my boat down the Yahara River. And to put these times off of the trail into context, you have to understand what it takes to be on the trail in the first place. And there are two factors that get you on the trail. One is you have to have this modicum of health so that you're actually physically able to hike on the trail. And in my case, I've proven that this can be very, very little. And if you can just be on the trail for, 3 hours a day, you can have the experience that I've had so far. But there's another thing really important that looms over all of this. You need to have the time to be on the trail. And what's the first thing you got to get rid of to be able to do that, to have that time? Oh, you got to get rid of that full-time job. Yeah, I know what you're thinking right off the bat. It's like, what do you do for money? Well, in my case, I have savings and I have Social Security. Well, the inappropriately named Social Security, because it's neither social, because I paid into it, and also in this political age, it's not very secure, nor does it really bring a sense of security. For instance, yeah, you see that thing over there? Yeah, that's called a house. So if you're living on Social Security, yeah, you're not living in one of those things. That's for sure. Now, lucky for me, I do have access to a house, but when I'm not on the trail, most of the time, I'm hanging out in this place. And what am I doing in here? Well, one thing I'm doing is I'm getting ready to repair my gear before I get on the trail again. Oh yeah. Beauty. Stitched, back stitched. This should go for another 25 years now. What else do you have to do? You got to clean out. I bleach out my water bottles. The one that has the creek water in it says swamp on it. The one that has the filtered clean water in it says nothing. You got to take your filter and back flush it using the syringe. You put this together. You force clean water through it. What else? Got to make sure everything's nice and aired and dried out. So I just leave my tent kind of in a big mess. Here's my ground cloth, which is an old dead paraglider. Everything in this 90-degree heat at altitude dries out like crazy. To fit my big old sleeping bag inside my pack, I squish it without mercy in this compression sack. But that means when I'm not on the trail, this thing hangs so that it can regain its loft. And I know some people will tell you, what will they tell you? They'll tell you compressing a down sleeping bag is evil, but I've been doing it for years. And my sleeping bags last for years. Now my food supply gets all unpacked and jammed up into here. Not only that, this is like my sketchbook that I have, that my reading book is in. But I've come up with this system that whatever goes in the bag gets written out. So my sesame sticks go in here. I'm kind of low on that. And what goes in here? Oh, banana chips go in there. Ooh, macadamia nuts. Man, macadamia nuts, calories per weight, these things are freaking awesome. But what that means is when I've got to pack up, I just go through all these bags and whatever's empty you fill up. And you don't really have to think too much. And of course, the most important organizing factor is the list. And I wrote this out quite a while ago. Now, obviously, as I put things in my pack, I check them off. But I've used this list now many times, so you can hardly see it. But first I checked them off, and then I drew circles as my check off the next time I used this list. And then I crossed out the circles the time after that I used this list. And now I've started another set of circles, which are the check off marks. And the next time I use this list, I will cross out those circles. Of course, eventually I'll have to rewrite this list because it will be too much of a mess. But most importantly, what I do when I'm off the trail is recuperate. And I brought this up in earlier videos, but because I have upper airway resistive syndrome, sleeping for me is an exhausting physical activity, and I've got to catch up at some point. And that's what I do when I get off the trails, try and recuperate and heal. So why here? Amongst the reeds and cattails of the Yahara River in Wisconsin? Well, you know, to be on the trail, you have to be fairly ambitious. Take on something that big, but when your ambitions turn to obsessions and you start neglecting the other aspects of life, then it becomes problematic. And my mom just turned 90, so it was time to get off the trail, travel back home to Wisconsin, and wish her a happy birthday. So stay tuned. Next is section 10 when I get back.